Hello students, welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. I am your teacher, Mr. Stanley Mbogo. So dear students, I believe that you're doing okay wherever you're watching from. And in our today's session, I'd like to take you through an area under listening and speaking, and that is listening actively. So under this area, dear students, we are going to define listening, that is what listening is. And another thing is that we are also going to look at some of the reasons why we as an audience should listen. And number three, we're also going to look at what listening actively involves. And lastly, we're also going to look at some of the barriers to effective listening. So to begin with, allow me define what listening is. And dear students, listening is the active process of receiving and responding to spoken and sometimes unspoken messages. Listening can also be described as giving attention to sound. So, on to the next thing, that is why you should listen. Number one, listening helps to obtain information. Number two, listening helps to understand the message. That is the message that is conveyed by the speaker, or the sound, that is whichever sound that you are listening to. Then number three, listening also help us learn. And the next one, sometimes we listen for enjoyment or entertainment. And the next thing is that to gain the most out of a speech or even class, we also need to listen actively. So that means that we also listen actively to gain that is most out of a speech or in a classroom setup, like we are doing right now. So listening actively involves the following. So number one, listening actively involves, that is deliberately making the effort to listen by avoiding distractions and focusing on the message instead. So what are distractions? So some of some of the distractions include: number one, we have day dreaming. The next one, we have noise. So remember, noise can come from either within or outside the classroom. Then next, uh, distractions may also include objects or people nearby. The next distraction may also include the speaker's way of dressing or speech habits. So if a speaker dresses in a way that uh, make members of the audience concentrate on the dressing rather than the speech itself, then that alone is a distraction. So on to the next thing, keeping an open mind. Now that is some of the ways to effective listening. So the first way to effective listening is keeping an open mind. So keeping an open mind means, or rather the meaning is willingness to listen to other people and consider new ideas, suggestions, and opinions. So another way to effective listening is making constant eye contact with the speaker in order to maintain concentration. Next, under ways of effective listening is observing the speaker's gestures and the facial expressions, since they enhance your understanding. So showing interest in the speech by, for example, nodding, leaning forward in eagerness for more information, laughing at jokes, making inference by reading between the lines of the speaker's message are also some of the ways to effective listening. Then Another thing is that critically evaluating the message and comparing it with your existing knowledge or experiences may also help you as a listener to gain a lot. So on to the next thing, that is characteristics of inattentive listener. So how can we tell that one is inattentive? So the first way or the first sign of inattentive listener is yawning. So when a member of an audience keep on, yawning, okay, there are different, meanings of yawning. So sometimes one can yawn to show fatigue. Sometimes one can yawn to show drowsiness or to indicate that. Sometimes one can also yawn, to to show or indicate hunger, and lastly one can yawn to also show that he or she is not interested in whatever is going on. So if you have a member of an audience who keeps on yawning, then uh, that makes him or her an inattentive listener. So next, another characteristic of inattentive listener is shifting from seat to seat. So we also call that fidgeting. Then the next thing, another characteristic of inattentive listener is dozing off in the middle of a talk. And another one is also when a member of an audience talks to another person that is another member of the same audience. And again, we can also tell that one is inattentive when he or she keeps on looking at a clock or a watch. And on to the last thing that we also must look at under listening actively are some of the barriers to effective listening. So when we talk about the barriers to effective listening, we are talking about, some of the bad habits that get in the way of listening, and they include: number one, lack of interest in the topic of discussion. So when you do not have, an interest in the topic of discussion or the subject, then there is no way you will, listen effectively to the speaker. Another thing is unfamiliarity with the topic of discussion. That is, if you are not familiar with the subject, then you are most likely to be inattentive during, the discussion. Then the next thing under barriers to effective listening is the fear of being asked a question by the speaker. That is, uh, you know, uh, when a member or members or some members of an audience fear to be, asked questions on the topic that, has just been discussed by the speaker. So that is also one barrier or one challenge to effective listening. Then lastly, another barrier to effective listening is noise. So just like we said earlier on, noise can come from within or outside. So if it is coming from outside, then sorry, but if it is coming from within, it is something that can be controlled. So dear students, that brings us to the end of this session. Once again, my name is Mr. Stanley Ombogo, and remember to always keep it easy, Elimu. Until next time, bye.